What I did is what all 7-year-olds do. You sit down on the floor of your grandmother's living room and you compare 7 Bibles to each other, or 5 Bibles to each other. It's what you all did, right? And I remember it was a King James, a 1611 King James, and a King James, which are 2 totally different Bibles, and a New King James, which is 3 totally different Bibles, and a Greek lexicon Bible. I don't remember the 5th one. And I started comparing them to each other, and I went, wait a second here. I'm being told, I was raised Methodist, which means I got great naps, learned how to arc spitballs from the balcony at the proper distance and height. My grandmother's in her grave going, there's going to be an earthquake soon. But what I'm saying is I didn't have fireballs of guilt and fear thrown in my face. And my grandmother was a pillar in that church. And I started at the age of 7 is the first time I started reading the Bible cover to cover. Not a clue what it meant. By the 3rd time, I think I picked up about 2% of what was in there. And then by the time that was the summer of 1979. And that was when I looked down. Everybody's talking about where the lay up treasures in heaven where moth and rust do not destroy and all this other stuff. And everybody's talking about heaven like this place that happens after you die, which I didn't see even at the age of 7. And I had this experience where the Bible was open on the desk. This is Vacation Bible School. It's when your parents can get rid of you for like 2 weeks in the midsummer. And all of a sudden there was Gospel of Matthew in Aramaic, Mattai. I saw like layers. This is something I didn't say until I put it in my first book, which we've got out on the table out there, because I didn't want people to think one of 2 things, that I was nuts, well, I don't care about that anymore, or that I was somehow special. So I just kept my mouth shut about this. I saw different languages in different colors spatially within the page. And it was like there was a light coming off, and I remember putting my hand above the page going, can I feel anything? I was like, I didn't really feel any heat or anything. There was all this light happening. And I remember looking up, and the room was dark. And this was a classroom full of kids. And I just happened to look over at the door, and there's the teacher of Vacation Bible School. And she's looking at me. And I know my face was red. And she's looking at me like, what did you just do? And then she went, are you coming? And I'm like, yeah. And I kind of got up, and I walked out into the hallway. All the kids were already out there. And I remember going down the brick steps and down the little drive on the side of the church. This is southern New Jersey, the Garden State. If you've ever been in New Jersey, which exit? And we went out to this baseball diamond, and all the kids started playing, but it was weird. It was like 7 years old. It was as if I didn't, you're in the mountains, and you're driving, and all of a sudden your ears pop. And you're like, wow, was I deaf? Like 2 minutes ago, because you realize when they open up, there's all this presence, there's this sheen, and I'm looking around, and there's these sparkling, dancing lights in the trees, but there was no lights though, but there was, and there was this high-pitched, almost sheen, what I would call presence, even though in a way it wasn't. It was like somebody took a blanket off of your speakers. And I'm wide open, and she's still looking at me like from the other side of the playground. I'm like, what did that kid do? So that's the age of 7. By the age of 14, I'm riffing on the words of Jesus, meaning writing lines down, and then what do I feel it means? And then I started studying Greek. That's what you do when you're a teenager, and Hebrew. and then I fell into Aramaic. And the funny thing, though, is while I'm studying all these Bible languages, why did I take your hand right before I said this part? I'm playing in these debaucherous heavy metal bands, as a guitar player from the age of 15. And I'm lighting guitars on fire, and I take extra guitars on stage because I smash them at the end of the show. And I have real amps and then dummy amps that blow up in the middle of the set and all that. And people now are like, wait a second. They remember me then, and they're like, Dale's doing what now? But on the side, I'm doing all this with... There's something about this Jesus guy. And it kept driving me forward. And then the Aramaic language dropped into my lap. And that's when someone says, you got to check out this guy. He does the Aramaic. And I'm like, sounds like a Macarena, some kind of a dance. And then I said, what's Aramaic? And they were like, well, that's the language Jesus spoke. And I went, he didn't speak English? And that's what the room did. Everybody's laughing at me. And I'm like, what? Why are you laughing at me? But English didn't exist. And I went, wow, I never thought of that before. If you notice the billboards here in the South, the King James English, verily, verily, I say unto thee. How many do you know that speak like that? Have you thought about the fact that the Jesus teachings were flash frozen 5 centuries ago, and we still spit them out from that perspective now, especially in the South, with no regard to the fact that they were already 1,500 years old then, or 1,600 years old? And we don't really think about that. And I kept going deeper and deeper. And I started realizing that Aramaic was less about the words, the concepts in your head, the beliefs, the thoughts. It was so much more about frequency and vibration. In the beginning was not the word. In the beginning of the Gospel of John, take a breath. Verily I say unto thee. Sorry, I went in a different way there. Beginning of the Gospel of John in Aramaic, where it says, in the beginning was the Word, Berashit etoihoa milta. If there's anything the word milta can't be translated in English, guess what word it isn't? Word. Let me translate it for you. You ready? In the beginning was the... The bell. In the beginning was the bell. It's my Teek Nan Han impression. Listen to the sound of the bell. I love Teek. He's awesome. Thai teacher. So what that word really meant actually is something closer to frequency or vibration. And as a matter of fact, in my book, Echoes of an Ancient Dream, there's 2 pages that were originally 6 pages where there's dozens of terms that I wrote down that are an aspect of what that word meant, but none of those words will translate it because there's no word in English. Funny. And then I had this experience where I heard the Aramaic language for the first time, and that's how I'm going to introduce you tonight to this experience. It is otherworldly. People ask me a lot of times, is it the language of the angels? I hear questions like that, and I'll say this in all seriousness. Me? Serious? In all seriousness, the root sounds that are in the Semitic languages of Aramaic, Hebrew, not to an extent Arabic, Akkadian, Phoenician, Sumerian, are the same root sounds. Whenever I've encountered someone talking about angelic languages or languages of the angelic realms, it's the same root sounds. And I've actually had people that have come to me and I didn't believe it, and they're like, my wife was dying of cancer, and she was saying all these things and saying the angels were talking to her, and they bring me recordings, and my face turns white as a sheet, and I'm like, all right, you're setting me up here. What is this? Where'd you get this from? Because I can understand what they're saying. That's a wild thing. And we could spend 5 hours talking about the Lord's Prayer, every letter, every little why everything was feminine and somehow got turned into masculine. Almost 100%. Why do you think the kingdom, Malkuta, gendered feminine in Aramaic, Basileia in Greek, is always somehow kingdom, masculine, rather than feminine territory, a direct experience? Why do you think God's always called he? There's a real easy answer to that. Men translated it, and men wrote it down. And that's actually the truth. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a little bit of toning, and then I'm going to introduce you to this being of ours. We call this the baby. Do you have the baby? And people are looking like, oh, he's going to bring the baby in, and they're all wanting to see the baby, and this triangular thing triangle wrapped in sheets comes in, and they're like, you got strange kids, my friend. And then the last maybe 20 minutes or so, just the last bit of my talk, we're going to spend time with what's called Pyradym. But I'd like to open with having each of us find a good, comfortable position where you are. Where's my time right now, Kathy? I should have brought just so I can arc it. Yeah, just because I kind of, and then you can just give me a 10-minute mark. But so here's what we're going to do. Is there anybody that's never heard anything Aramaic before that you're aware of? Not many. Now, I got to say thank you to, believe it or not, Mel Gibson, because if he hadn't have made that uplifting, empowering, not bloody epic about 15, 20 years ago, then a lot of people wouldn't be talking about it. And I'll say this, the first time I saw that film was in a theater in Florida, and there was 5,000 church buses there, lots of children. And I remember there was this one scene where there was this like cat-o'-nine tail with barbs on it, and it got stuck in Yeshua's back, and they rip it, and flesh comes flying at the screen, and this little kid is almost in convulsions in front of me. He was 7 years old, and his father leaned over and he said, "You remember he did that for you." And immediately the goosebumps are up, and that's why I'm here on the planet right now, is to move that out. All the guilt, the fear, and the shame, I'm going to tell you all now, it's all BS. All of it. And BS means belief systems. It's all nothing but the stuff that you've been indoctrinated and programmed with in your mind. So, all right. 25? Okay, good. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask, Loretta's got a way with a bowl. When I say bowl, a toning bowl. I know John made a 420 reference earlier. I'm not going in that direction. I'm going to pass these around too. So what we're going to do is this. Toning is kind of like this. I'm going to do this very briefly. Toning is, if anybody's ever been to a kirtan event, etc., I can say the first word of the Aramaic Lord's Prayer is abun, or I can do something like this. Can I have the bowl? No, I mean play. Oh, I can watch you play it much better than I'd. Did that experience feel any different than Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name? So what we're going to do is I'm going to invite you with me to make the sound aun, kind of like om, but instead of an M at the end, there's an N. Okay, aun. Can you say that? Aun. We're going to do this one time together and then return back to silence, okay? You don't have to last forever. You don't have to turn blue and boom, fall into the person in front of you. Another thing is this is not a performance, okay? You're not performing music. This is an expression. The quality of the tone will expand, will become more crystalline the more you allow yourself to open, before you allow it to simply flow through you. You're not trying to live up to a standard, okay? So that sound is, oh, let's do that one time, okay? Just take a deep cleansing breath in the nose. Hold that in the temple. Just a few moments, and then out through the mouth. Let's make that aun sound one more time. Big, beautiful breath in through the nose. One more time, and then back to silence, and then I'm going to move into the Aramaic prayer itself. Let's really let this Aun ring out. This one's for the world. This one is, again, in all seriousness, the one that is saying, 2019, you may not have been a bad year, but you were maybe a little bit odd. We're now ready for an even year. So I'm ready for you to kiss my holy soul as I step into 2020. That's this Aun right there. You got to have all the sass in there, okay? Everything you need. Wide open, one big Aun, and then back to silence, and then I'll move further into the prayer. Ready? Here we go. Now the rest I'm doing for you. Allow yourself to be open. Be aware of the movement of your breath, the rise and the fall. And just allow these frequencies in the Lakota to let the wind blow through you. Be open. Abund Washmea Need Kadash Mok Titi Malkul Tok Nihuit Svianak Aikana Wajmea Habyaria Hablon Lachmadasun Kanan Yaumana Washbuklan Holbein Chtahin Aikana Dabchanan Shwakan Lechayavein Huila Tachlan Lenesiuna Batsan Men Bisha Netul Didlaki Makuthak Wahel Atishbukta Al-Ain Al-Min. Just be open. Our one absolute eternal being, of which we are born forth from the realm of the all and the only. I am empty. Within the ecstasy of your presence and the purity of the vibration of the holy, undivided name, empower my creative expansion through your emergence from the unseen realms as I realize our life and vision as one on the manifest earth as in the unmanifest heavenly realms. Provide the nourishment of clear insight and realization through me now and in each present moment. Release the echoes of my hidden past as I cancel all of my concerns with others. Do not let me lose my true self in forgetfulness, but wholly release me from the errors of my perceptions. For the undivided holiness is the absolute, the all, and the only, and the deep, intimate realization of the grace and gratitude of universal magnificence. From cosmic gathering to cosmic gathering, from age to age, aeon to aeon, Elam Almin, forever and ever, from moment to moment, from now to now. May these pure intentions be the rooted, fertile earth center from which all my actions flow. I'm going to need your help with one word, one time. It's going to sound a little different than the way we usually pronounce it. It sounds like this. Amen. Amen. One time, okay? Big, beautiful breath in the nose. So how does that feel? Do you like it as much as Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven? That word amen at the end of the prayer, which actually isn't there in the Bible, we just kind of add it there. You know, when he said, verily, verily, I say unto thee, that's the word he was using. He was actually saying amen, amen, amar. And you're not going to see that in Greek. The Bible scholars don't know it. The biblical experts don't know that because they don't look at the Aramaic. And the word amar wasn't just verily, verily, I say unto thee, you must go to see the new Star Wars film. It is fantastic. Woo! That was a lot of energy. Knocked me sideways. They weren't, that's not, it wasn't I say. That word amar has one meaning. It means to absolutely affirm. That's pretty nice to know that. Let's just say the language got lost in translation. What I'd like to do at this point is to introduce you, just for the last few moments, this beautiful baby here. Pyradym is, imagine this. Imagine that you have 3 completely independent singing bowls, toning bowls, totally analog. There's nothing digital, there's no recordings, there's no computers in this of any kind. It's based on Tesla technology, the vibrating disc that he was working on when he passed, that mysteriously all of his labs had all these fires, and his schematics and experiments went burning over the course of several months before he died. Mysteriously, total accident, I'm sure. Also, there's a little Edgar Cayce here. This is an exact 1/1000th of a degree replica of the dimensions of the Pyramid of Khufu, the Great Pyramid in Giza. The electronics in this are in the exact same positions as the Pyramid of Khufu. But what this does is it generates tones. So we just got down to the root chakra. How you feeling? You ready to breathe? Let's just turn it up and introduce you to take it down to just a pure tone. So what this does is it moves through the 7, what are called in philosophy, in the East they call them chakras. They were actually there in the Aramaic, but they were horribly misunderstood and mistranslated. Mark 16, which is not in most Bibles end at 15. Shh. Some Bibles go to chapter 21. Talks about Yeshua encountering Mary Magdalene, out of whom he cast out 7 what? Demons. Think Linda Blair and green pea soup and your head turning around entirely. what that actually meant was this. The words in Aramaic are shabea, which is the word 7, shiadain, apek. Now, the word shiadain means this. It means a force, a spirit, an energy that's somehow restricted or constricted. It's not voicing. And the word apek, translated as cast out, means to stimulate the movement of something like this. Her 7, just by chance, 7, everybody knows the 7 vices, gluttony, sloth. Did you know they were completely made up? After the Bible was already written, they were added in. Do you know how many versions there are of the 7 vices or deadly sins? 48. Do you know how many of them are real? 0, not 1. In the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which was not allowed in the Bible, she named them, and she called those 7 demons darkness, desire, ignorance, the exhilaration of death, the foolish words of the realm, the foolish visions of the flesh, and hostility and wrath, which is the quality of each of the chakras when they're not voicing openly. They take on the exact opposite quality. So what Pyradym does is it moves through what Eastern science recognizes as the center frequency of each of those clusters, almost like a lotus of frequencies. And I can adjust how wide it goes. It can sweep down to the other chakras. So I'm going to ask where my time is. 10 minutes. Okay, beautiful. Ready to feel it? We're just going to go through 1 minute on each chakra, okay? There's no right or wrong to this. If something feels uncomfortable, don't scream out and hurl green pea soup across the room. This is what you need to do. Because it's happening, what's happening right now, you can change your thoughts all you want, but you've never had a thought in your entire life that was anything but a delusion of a mind that's not there in the first place. Changing your thoughts doesn't change your life, it just changes what you're seeing on the screen. Your life is what's watching. In the words of St. Francis of Assisi, what you are looking for is what is looking. And what's happening to you is happening on the level of frequency. And what I was told by some of the beings that brought this through, and here I go out on a limb, is that they say that they've been trying to give us this knowledge for thousands of years, and I'm about to curse, hold your ears, but that for thousands of years we constantly turned the message into fucking religions, and then we bought it and sold it to each other. So now they're giving it to us on the level of pure frequency so that we can no longer misinterpret the message. We can turn it up, we can turn it down, we can turn it off. So this isn't about figuring out what you're feeling, it's allowing yourself to feel and be open. We're just going to move through 1 minute on each chakra. Let's have some fun. Remember, big breaths. Launching into 2020. Is remembering to keep your breath moving. That's how you keep the temple open. Let the wind blow through you. third channel on top, this third tone that's going really weird, we create a modulation with those two lower frequencies. This top channel is how they communicate. I'm not touching it. What I do is it's almost like I'm pinging a radio station, and when I find the right frequency, they start speaking. And then I just let it happen. Right in the center at the heart. Feeling anything happen, just remember, keep the breath moving. Allow yourself to be open. If you're hypersensitive to sage, same thing. Allow yourself to be open. I had an allergy to it for years. Right now we're on the third eye. Houston, we have liftoff. Is it the top one? No, keep going. You really think you need the chemicals in your system to trip out like that? That's only 7 minutes. So a few daring souls, we actually have a table set up over there and in the healing space. And what we do is we're going to move the obelisk over. The Pyradym itself, which also vibrates independent of the obelisk, is going to be sitting on the table. Your feet are going to rest on the obelisk, and then we're going to lay you back and put headphones on and take you on a 7-minute journey with entrainment between a different frequency pattern in each ear. And you could be able to completely bottom out in the best way possible and be that emptiness that Brian was talking about, you're going to be empty. So with that, I say, if you don't know what just happened, good, you're in a good place. But I do have one, I'm going to see everybody's eyes as much as possible. I just have one last message. First of all, it's been our highest honor to be here and spend this time with you, because this has been incredible. The next message is this. Det kabun chad l'chad aikana di ana achab tukun. Love one another, technically one and one, as I, Hun, we have loved you. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you.